YouTube. So a few days ago, Senator King made some comments showing that he was on Team White Supremacy, not a surprise. And one of the videos, I'm going to first show you a Facebook post, then a comment where he made, and that same comment was addressed on CNN in regards to his comments about the birth rate. And then he made some more comments more recently leading up to this post. So I wanted to show you that. Take a look. And this is a Facebook post from Representative Stephen King of Iowa. He wrote, "Folks keep talking about another civil war. One side has about 8 trillion bullets while the other side doesn't know which bathroom to use." So this is showing how he feels about LGBTQ group. This also shows how he feels about gun laws. So let's take a look at some videos.
You wrote that Wilders understands that culture and demographics are our destiny. We cannot restore our civilization with somebody else's babies. This is being condemned by many regions of American politics and citizenry. What did you mean?
Well, of course, I meant exactly what I said, as it always is the case, Chris. And to expand on that a little further, I've been to Europe and I've spoken on this issue, and I've said the same thing as far as 10 years ago to the German people and to any population of people that is a declining population that isn't willing to have enough babies to reproduce themselves. And I've said to them, you cannot rebuild your civilization with somebody else's babies. You've got to keep your birth rate up, and that you need to teach your children your values. And in doing so, then you can grow your population and you can strengthen your culture. You can strengthen your way of life.
Who's somebody else's babies?
Chris, we're a country here that, if you take a picture of what America looks like, you can do it in a football stadium or a basketball court, and you see all kinds of different Americans there. We're pretty proud of the different looking Americans that are still Americans. And there's an American culture, an American civilization. It's raised within these children in these American homes. And that's one of the reasons why we require that the President of the United States be raised with an American experience.
I mean, because it seemed like you were doing the opposite. Like you were trying to say someone else's babies means you're either white or you're not right. And as you know, that is anathema to what America's all about. Can we get agreement on that?
Well, here's actually, if you go down the road a few generations or maybe centuries with the intermarriage, I'd like to see an America that's just so homogenous that we look a lot the same from that perspective. I think there's been far too much focus on race, especially in the last 8 years, and I want to see that put behind us, and I want to be as bonded together. I gave a speech on this on Saturday, and half the liberals got up and left the room when I talked about
because
the
when you
success
say
and
when you
unity and
suggest
putting
to
it into the
anybody,
divisions.
but when
they're
you
looking
suggest,
for hatred is the point, Chris.
But hold on a second, Congressman, if you suggest that somebody else's babies shouldn't be welcome in a country, you seem inherently divisive. That's why I keep asking you, what was your intention with this? And you keep to seem doubling down on it. I mean, you said America's got lots of different faces, that's fine, but you keep making this point that this country needs to be about white people raising their birth rate and not bringing in other people. That's exactly what America is not.
But Chris, I never have made that point. I've never said that. I've been characterized as saying that. I've had the blogs out there say I said that, but I tell them, go back and watch the tape, listen to it, just listen to the language. Our language is precise. That's not out there.
Steve King is having a tough time in his race for Congress to get reelected as an incumbent. He's a Republican from one of the most Republican districts in the country, and yet he's made to have some trouble. He's got his own chairman of the campaign committee, the Republican chairman of the campaign committee of Congress, saying this: Congressman Steve King's recent comments, actions, and retweets were completely inappropriate. We must stand up against white supremacy and hate in all forms, and I strongly condemn this behavior. Mind you, this is his own campaign chairman saying this. Sahil Kapoor, our colleague down in Washington, has interviewed Mr. King, and he's with us now to give us a report. So what does Mr. King say about all this? Because he seems to be in a bit of trouble.
He does seem to be in a bit of trouble. It was a rare and remarkable rebuke from the chairman of the Republican House Campaign Committee that you don't see very often, especially just 6 or 7 days before a midterm election. Now, I spoke to Steve King about this. He remains defiant. He said he would, in his words, settle that score with Steve Stivers after the election. He's not going to say anything more than he said now. He defends his own behavior. He said he's done nothing, in his view, to merit that kind of treatment and to merit being abandoned by the campaign committee. But he has a history with this stuff. He has a history of inflammatory, incendiary rhetoric and more recently of supporting candidates around the world in places like Europe and Canada who have openly identified and made white supremacist, white nationalist comments. So I think we're seeing a bit of an exodus here among Republicans who say they don't want to tolerate that.
Sahil, for those of us who may not have covered it as carefully as others like you, what exactly did he do?
A number of things. Part of what he did is endorse a number of candidates, political candidates in places like Canada and Europe who are openly white nationalists, white supremacists. That has been a problem. He's been tweeting in support of them. He has been speaking out in favor of them. He's also made comments that have been widely decried as racist and white nationalist here at home, including saying things like he wants a homogenous America. He said last year, I believe, that we cannot rebuild civilization with someone else's babies. That remark drew some condemnation from some of his own colleagues, including one prominent Hispanic Republican. So it's a bit of a pattern with him. And, for the most part, many of his colleagues, I would say most of his colleagues, have been willing to overlook this. But we may be reaching a breaking point here with his party leaders.
Well, so what kind of support is he getting at this point? I see that a couple of companies have pulled out. Like Land O'Lakes, and I think Purina pulled out from supporting him. At the same time, Ted Cruz is still his friend, it appears.
That's right. So the two of them have an interesting history. Ted Cruz ran for president in 2016, as we all know, and Steve King was a co-chair on his campaign. King is in Iowa, and he's a conservative in Iowa. He has a base of support there, and that's obviously an important early state that presidential candidates want to build support in. So, Cruz landed Steve King's support, his endorsement, and King was a co-chair of his presidential campaign. And the two have been friends. They have been ideological allies on a number of issues, including on immigration for the most part. And Ted Cruz called Steve King yesterday, according to my reporting, and essentially, according to King, conveyed his support for him. Now, the Cruz campaign says it was a personal call, and that the two are friends, and that Cruz told King exactly what he has said publicly, which is that he is disappointed by King's remarks. Although importantly, Cruz did not condemn King or renounce him.
As you know, he's on that team white supremacy. That's what I keep saying. When I step out that door, ISIS is not my problem. My problem are the people who are governing our cities, towns, and states. Okay, the people who are on team white supremacy, because they are the domestic terrorists. And the ones you really need to worry about is the ones that have money, because to even run, you have to have some money, or you have to get money from people. You have to have some type of access to funds. And these same people do not care about us. They don't care about the poor white supremacists. They only care about people who are elite, they have money, and this is who we need to worry about, because this is part of this institutional racism, part of this hate crimes, whether it's LGBT or based on religion or color. All of this is because we have people in place that think like this. This shows how he feels about gun laws. He doesn't care about gun control. 8 trillion bullets. We have people who have these kind of bullets or have access to bullets. They're the one doing all this hate crime. No one should have access to bullets, really, except police, if that, or just military. But, we put all these bullets in people's hands, and this is what happens, especially when combined with this type of sick ideology. Y'all, it really looks like a race war he's trying to create, and I think there should be some criminal action based on that. And this is how things like the New Zealand attack happens. This is why these attacks happen because of comments that are made like this in this Facebook post. Comment, subscribe, hit the like button. Tell me what you think about this.